Hello and a very good morning this Saturday. I'm Frank Pereira. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. Here are the headlines. EU's stern warning to Pakistan. Islamabad asked to stop human rights violations in Balochistan or face sanctions. India says Pakistan is being isolated. Indian troops begin joint drill with Russian forces in Vladivostok with focus on counter-terror operations. Russian troops arrive for a first joint military drill in Pakistan. Prime Minister to address public meeting in Kozhikode in Kerala where BJP National Council is being held. Pro-poor agenda of the BJP focus of the meet. Situation after Uri attack to find mention. Heavy rains claim 13 lives in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Normal life disrupted in Mumbai. Forecast for heavy downpour. And Karnataka Assembly passes unanimous resolution against releasing additional Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu. Decides storages will be used only to meet drinking water needs in the region of the Kaveri Basin. Well, let's begin with our top focus now. Pakistan continues to be in denial over its involvement in the Uri terror attack. Islamabad has said that India is in a habit of blaming its neighbour. However, India's attempts to isolate Pakistan got another shot in the arm with the EU warning Pakistan to stop human rights violations in Balochistan or face sanctions. Here's a report.
हिंदुस्तानियों के पास खुद कुछ नहीं है सबूत तो पाकिस्तान किस किस्म की कार्रवाई करे उन्होंने तो एक इल्ज़ाम लगाया है और इल्ज़ाम भी सिर्फ पाकिस्तान को बदनाम करने के लिए लगाया है
Pakistan once again rejecting India's stand of its involvement in the Uri attack. Islamabad also ruling out any immediate cooperation with India in probing the incident despite international advice.
सबसे पहले तो इस बात की जवाबदेही होनी चाहिए कि अभी एक हमला जारी था अभी तो तहकीक शुरू ही नहीं हुई थी और उन्होंने इल्ज़ाम हम पे लगाना शुरू कर दिया सो अगर कोई जवाब आना चाहिए if anybody has to answer anybody it is India.
Amid the escalating tension with India, Pakistan Army Chief Rahil Sharif said the country's armed forces were capable of countering any threat to the country's security at any cost. However, Pakistan finds itself being slowly isolated on the international platform despite its Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's attempts at the United Nations General Assembly to internationalize the Kashmir issue once again.
What we started in 1996 as an initiative of ours to focus on terrorism has now become a crescendo. And we are gratified by the support that increasingly countries are standing up and voicing their support for this menace, against this menace.
Adding to Pakistan's woes is a European Parliament Vice President saying the European Union may impose economic and political sanctions on Islamabad if Pakistan fails to stop human rights violations in the Balochistan region.
We have bilateral economic and political relations with Pakistan, and if Pakistan will not change the state policy to Balochistan people in this situation, we should change our attitude to Karachi, to government of Pakistan.
The EU Vice President's veiled warning came when he added that it is not time for words but for actions. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj will arrive in New York today to attend the ongoing 71st session of the United Nations General Assembly. Swaraj will be addressing the General Assembly on Monday and is expected to bring up the Kashmir as a dominant point in her speech. Now, it is also anticipated that the human rights violation in Balochistan will also find a mention in her address. Earlier this week, exercising its right to reply at the UN, India said that Pakistan is allowing terror organizations and terrorists to roam freely in its territory. This after Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif addressed the UNG on Wednesday, where he once again raised the Kashmir issue. Swaraj had addressed the General Assembly session last year as well and had raised 2008 Mumbai terror attacks and its mastermind terrorist Hafiz Saeed's presence in Pakistan. And back in New Delhi, top security experts of SAARC countries have agreed to help each other in tackling suicide attacks, radicalization of youths, besides sharing intelligence on terror on real time. The agreement came at the second meeting of the high-level group of eminent experts to strengthen the SAARC anti-terrorism mechanism held in Delhi. The meet was attended by intelligence chiefs of Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, the Maldives, besides India. Director General of Intelligence Bureau of Pakistan, Aftab Sultan, did not attend the meeting amidst the ongoing hostility between India and Pakistan over terror attacks in Uri. Now, all member countries agreed to cooperate on capacity building by way of sharing their expertise on the subjects related to suicide, terrorism, counter-radicalization, drugs trafficking and cyber security. Other issues like corruption and money laundering were also brought up for discussions, as they also contribute towards terror financing. Meanwhile, India and Russia on Friday kicked off the 8th edition of their joint military exercise in Vladivostok with a focus on counter-terror operations. The Indra 2016 exercise is being held in the Urusik district, and the main focus of this edition of the joint drills is on counter-terrorism operations in semi-mountainous and jungle terrain under United Nations mandate. Brigadier Sukhrit Chadda is leading the Indian contingent of 250 soldiers from the Kumaon regiment, while the Russian army is being represented by 250 soldiers from the 59th Motorized Infantry Brigade. The Indra series of bilateral exercises is one of the major bilateral defense cooperation initiatives between India and Russia since 2003. The Indian contingent is scheduled to return to India on termination of the exercise in early October. Meanwhile, Russian troops arrived in Islamabad on Friday to participate in the first ever joint military drills with Pakistani forces. Starting today, about 200 troops from the two countries, including 70 servicemen from Russia, will take part in the 2-week-long military drills called as Friendship 2016, which has been termed as a sign of growing military ties between the former rivals of the Cold War era. Meanwhile, Russia rubbished reports that its troops will be holding joint military exercises with Pakistani forces in Pakistan-occupied areas of Gilgit-Baltistan, and said that the drills will take place in Cherhat in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region. India and France signed the much-awaited Rafale deal in New Delhi on Friday, ending almost 18 months of wrangling over terms between New Delhi and manufacturer Dassault Aviation. The signing was concluded at Hyderabad House in the presence of Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar and his French counterpart. The deal includes the purchase of 36 aircraft, weapons, spares, support and maintenance, and the jet will be customized as per the requirements of the IAF. Yasmo.
Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar and his French counterpart Jean-Yves Le Drian signing the €7.87 billion Rafale deal on Friday. The deal enables India to purchase 36 Rafale jets from France, the country's first major acquisition of combat planes in 2 decades. However, India will get the delivery of the fighter jets only 3 years later, as France is committed to make deliveries first to Qatar and then to Saudi Arabia. All 36 Rafale jets will be delivered to India in a span of 5.5 years. The aircraft will be fitted with equipment that can throw missiles up to 100 to 300 kilometers from within the Indian territory.
आज भारत ने फ्रांस के साथ राफेल के बारे में इंटर गवर्नमेंटल एग्रीमेंट अंतर्देशीय समझौता कर लिया है, जिससे हमें एक पोटेंट इफेक्टिव फाइटर जो एयरफोर्स की एक अहम ज़रूरत थी वो मिलने का मार्ग खुला हो गया। ये 20 बरस में पहला एयर फाइटर के लिए पहला सौदा है, विच इज़ यूनिकनेस इन इटसेल्फ।
L'Inde et la France ont été partenaires, même à des moments où l'Inde était seule, la France était là. Et aujourd'hui, on est parti sur une nouvelle phase historique importante.
Negotiations for the purchase of these fighter jets have been going on since early 2000. The initial proposal was to buy a total of 126 jets. However, due to differences over pricing and mountable devices, both countries could not reach a consensus. Talks on fast-tracking the deal gained momentum after Narendra Modi became Prime Minister in 2014. He proposed to buy the 36 Rafale jets during his visit to France, following which the deal was finalized at a price that is almost 750 million euros less than what was being quoted by the French side in January 2016. The jets that have now come to India will be equipped with state-of-the-art missiles like Meteor and Scalp, giving Indian Air Force a capability that had been sorely missing in its arsenal.
I wish Rafale deal had taken faster and at least our squadron strength could have been built up, and we should have had gone for more than at least 4 squadrons and not 2 squadrons.
The new deal also comes with several other discounts. Makers of the Rafale jets, Dassault Aviation, will have to ensure that at least 75% of the entire fleet remains operational at any given time. This warranty is signed for the first 5 years. Other concessions include free training for 9 Indian Air Force personnel, including 3 pilots, besides additional guarantee for 60 hours of usage of training aircraft for Indian pilots and 6 months of free weapons storage in case the Indian infrastructure is not ready for storing the weapons.
India plans to buy some more advanced aircraft from Russia and some other countries. It will give rise to arms race for some time, but Government of India thinks that given the nature of China and Pakistan, this type of purchase is most necessary. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Monish in Delhi.
Well, the multi-agency search for a group of men spotted moving suspiciously near a naval base in Uran in Maharashtra continued for the second day on Friday. The Navy, however, has called off its operations. Police said none of the men could be traced so far. Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, who was in Pune, said that the information about the suspicious armed people being spotted in Uran was yet to be corroborated. However, police said that based on the description given by some school children who spotted the armed suspects, their sketches have been issued. The police has also submitted a confidential report on the search operations to the government. A high-level meeting of police officials and National Security Guard unit commanders was also held at Uran on Friday. Though the Navy has called off its operations, it continues to maintain a high state of alert and tight vigil. In other news now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Kerala today, where he will address a public rally as part of the BJP's National Council meeting. Now, the focus of the meet is poverty alleviation as its focal point. Even though the upliftment of the poor tops the agenda, the party will also talk about the situation post the Uri terror attack. Now, the 3-day event will conclude in the inauguration of the year-long centenary birth anniversary celebrations of Deen Dayal Upadhyay.
The BJP National Executive met in Kozhikode in Kerala on the first day of the 3-day party meet. The Uri terror attack loomed large over the meeting. The party itself sought to focus on the pro-poor agenda during the deliberations.
In a way, this National Council meeting here, which is taking place on the eve of the birth centenary of Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji, will provide us an opportunity to rededicate ourselves to the ideology propounded by Pandit Deen Dayal ji.
During the meeting on day 1 of the national office bearers, the party president, Amit Shah, asked state governments to execute the schemes aimed at the welfare of the poor. The party is marking the centenary birth anniversary year of its ideologue, Deen Dayal Upadhyay.
You will naturally have one major issue in your minds about the situation in the country, in the neighborhood, etc., etc. It's a very important national council, but its focus is on Pandit Deen Dayal ji, his ideology, his commitment to poor and downtrodden people, how to take it forward. But when we meet at an important meeting like this, it's natural that all the important issues before the nation will be discussed at appropriate levels.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address a public gathering today and also honour senior leaders from the days of the Jan Sangh. The venue for the meeting has been selected as a mark of respect for Deen Dayal Upadhyay. Upadhyay was appointed President of the Bharatiya Jana Sangh in Kozhikode in December 1967.
The poor-centric ideology of Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay seems to be at the top of the agenda for BJP's National Council meet. However, facing flack over the repeated incidents of terrorist attack on defence installations, the ruling party is likely to utilize this opportunity to send a clear and tough message on the issue of national security and terrorism.
The Party National Council will adopt the Garib Kalyan report of the committee headed by Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan and is likely to ask states where it is in power to implement pro-poor schemes of the Modi government with a one-year target. The year-long celebrations to commemorate the centenary will be inaugurated on Sunday by Amit Shah. The Prime Minister has constituted 2 committees for the same. The PM himself will chair a 149-member National Council, while Home Minister Rajnath Singh will head a 23-member Executive Committee. With camera person Prashant Takarmagar, Vishal Dahiya's report from Kozhikode for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
I'm Amritan Rai, you're watching Constitutionally Yours.
We need to change according to times and situation.
The state council has its own authority, and similarly the state government has its own authority.
The judiciary cannot become an administrator.
Are they in any way accountable to the central government, either directly or indirectly, sir?
Accountability has to be there at all levels.
Join us as we try to understand contemporary issues related to the Constitution. Watch Constitutionally Yours on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, a special session of the Karnataka Assembly on Friday unanimously decided not to release additional Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu. The session also decided that no water from the present storages will be drawn except to meet the drinking water needs of villages and towns in the Kaveri Basin and Bengaluru city.
At a special session of both houses, the Karnataka Assembly on Friday passed a unanimous resolution to only release water that meets the basic concerns of Bengaluru and the Kaveri Basin. The resolution also ignored the Supreme Court's directive to release Kaveri water to neighbouring Tamil Nadu for irrigation.
The government ensures that no water from the present storages be drawn, saved and except for meeting drinking water requirements of the villages and towns in the Kaveri Basin and for the entire city of Brahat Bengaluru.
All parties unanimously decided that water from the present storage will be used only to meet the drinking water needs of villages and towns in the Kaveri Basin and Bengaluru city. Leaders denied that the developments put the state on a collision course with the judiciary.
Supreme Court have passed 3 orders within a period of about 12 days now. All the 3 orders, they are all in the nature of interim orders. Why should the Supreme Court pass such orders? Much against the wishes of the people of Karnataka, knowingly that we do not have that much of water, and knowingly that the Tamil Nadu has got sufficient water for all their irrigation purposes, and we are suffering for want of giving water to the drinking people in Karnataka.
See, they are doing contempt of court. See, justice is the main thing in this country. Each and every person has to follow whatever the judgment says when the case goes to the court. And this issue they are making as a politics. Karnataka government is making as a politics because they are going to face elections very soon.
Karnataka CM stand is unlawful. I think the court will consider it, take cognizance of the statement and do something.
On 19 September, the Kaveri Supervisory Committee had asked Karnataka to release 3,000 cusecs of water per day between September 21st and 30th. The Supreme Court doubled the quantum to 6,000 cusecs per day after Tamil Nadu pressed for water to save its samba paddy crop. The water was to be released from the 21st till the 27th of September. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, non-stop heavy rains have brought normal life to a complete halt in several states across India. Around 13 people died in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana so far, while waterlogging has affected normal life in Mumbai.
Heavy rains have wreaked havoc in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana over the last 4 days, killing 13 people and prompting authorities to shift 6,000 people from flooded areas. In Andhra Pradesh, the KL Rao Sagar Reservoir is almost filled due to continuous showers in Guntur and the upper catchment areas of the Krishna River. While in Telangana, incessant rains continue to batter the state for the 3rd day. The continuous rain prompted the Telangana government to ask IT companies to allow their employees to work from home. The state government also sought the army's help in rescue operations in some areas. The Met Department has warned of heavy to very heavy rains over the coming days.
In Telangana state also it is expected that under the influence of this well-marked low pressure there is likelihood of widespread rainfall activity during next 5 days, and also there is likely to be one or two places isolated heavy to rather heavy rainfall in some districts.
ये बारिश एक जगह नहीं बहुत जगह गिर रहा है, इससे स्पेशली अपने हैदराबाद में बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो रहा, मगर ये प्रॉब्लम होते भी पानी तो आ रहा, मगर दिस गवर्नमेंट हैज टेकन मोर स्टेप्स टू रेस्क्यू many people from the lower levels, and anyhow the rain will continue for 2 days 3 days, they said. Today only the KTR has announced that these schools have given holidays for 2 days.
Financial capital Mumbai also came to a halt as the city witnessed heavy rainfall for the 6th day in a row on Friday. Waterlogging and traffic snarls were reported from many parts of the city, and suburban train services were also affected. Schools in South Mumbai remain closed even as the Met Department predicted heavy downpour in the next 24 hours. The excessive monsoon rains this year have caused major rivers across India to flood, and widespread loss of property and lives have also been reported. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news now, the outbreak of chikungunya and dengue diseases in the national capital and other parts of India has become a major cause of concern. Now, experts at AIIMS have warned the Delhi government that its fogging exercise has become ineffective and said that the fogging drive is not going to serve the purpose.
Dengue and chikungunya have claimed more than 33 lives this season and affected over 2,800 people in Delhi. However, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences has asserted that the number of chikungunya cases are on a decline.
हाँ ट्रेंड है एक्चुअली कि कम होना शुरू हो गए हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा तो नहीं है पर ट्रेंड तो है, मैं कहूँगा कि 30% के लगभग कम हो गए हैं केसेस, कम हो गए हैं पहले से.
Meanwhile, the Delhi government has initiated a special fogging drive to prevent the spread of dengue and chikungunya. Experts at AIIMS, however, say that the fogging drive will not serve the purpose. According to doctors, one of the insecticides used for fumigation can be hazardous for humans, especially the vulnerable young and elderly groups. It can even increase the threat to those with breathing difficulties. The chikungunya outbreak in Delhi is the worst in the last 6 years.
ज़्यादा मात्रा में इनहेल कर जाता है और रेस्पिरेटरी ट्रैक्ट में चला जाता है, सांस की नलियों में चला जाता है, तो खांसी वगैरह हो सकती है, रेस्पिरेटरी डिस्ट्रेस हो सकता है, सांस फूल सकता है, और जो मरीज होते हैं क्रॉनिक ब्रोंकाइटिस वगैरह के, अस्थमा का, उनकी प्रॉब्लम बढ़ सकती है.
Meanwhile, in neighbouring Haryana, Health Minister Anil Vij said that the situation was comparatively better than last year, with lesser number of cases and no death reported due to disease so far. He added that 458 positive cases of dengue have been reported from the state, out of which 259 patients have been discharged. Schools in Haryana have been directed to launch campaigns to make students aware about the vector-borne diseases. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's move on to our top international focus now. US President Barack Obama vetoed a bill on Friday that would allow family members of the 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia for any role in the plot. In his veto message to the Congress, Obama said that the legislation undermined core US interests and that it would open American officials and military personnel to legal jeopardy. He added that the legislation would put US assets at risk of seizure by private litigants overseas and create complications in diplomatic relations with other countries. The move, however, puts Obama in an extraordinary confrontation with a Congress that unanimously backed the bill. Republican and Democratic leaders in Congress say that they'll override Obama's veto next week. Obama has already issued 12 vetoes. If successful, the Congress's override would be the first of Obama's presidency. Meanwhile, peace continues to elude Syria as US-Russian talks at the UN have failed to revive a collapsed truce so far. Now, US and Russia met again on Friday but continued with their bickerings, with Russia blasting US at the UN General Assembly for throwing its weight around in the world. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov quoted George Orwell's Animal Farm to accuse Washington of saying all animals are equal but acting as if some are more equal than others. He laid the blame on the US for failing to control the rebel groups it backs in Syria. The speech at the UN came even as the northern city of Aleppo endured a day of relentless airstrikes, with the Syrian military determined to retake rebel-held areas. At least 45 civilians were killed on Friday. Syrian military had announced the new offensive in Aleppo on Thursday, and a ground offensive would likely follow. This came after a 7-day US-Russian brokered truce collapsed on Monday.
Философии межгосударственного общения, исключив попытки вмешиваться во внутренние дела государств, навязывать модели развития странам и народам. К сожалению, среди политических элит ряда западных стран глубоко укоренились идеи менторства.
Well, here's a roundup of the other international news in World Wrap. A video showing moments just before the fatal shooting of a black man by North Carolina police has been released. The family of Keith Scott released the cell phone video in which officers can be heard urging him to drop the gun, but his wife is heard telling them he is unarmed. Charlotte city leaders have been mounting the pressure to release their footage of this week's shooting. The shooting spurred days of protests in Charlotte. US Senator Ted Cruz endorsed Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump on Friday. Cruz said Trump was the only candidate who could stop Democrat Hillary Clinton from winning the White House on 8th of November. Cruz, a senator from Texas, was one of Trump's last challengers for the Republican presidential nomination to drop out of the race. He drew ire at the Republican National Convention in July for not endorsing Trump. Rescuers recovered at least 162 bodies from a migrant shipwreck off Egypt's coast by Friday evening as the search for victims entered its third day. Up to 450 migrants were on board the overcrowded fishing vessel that was heading to Italy from Egypt when it keeled over off the port city of Rosetta on Wednesday. Authorities have arrested 4 suspected people traffickers over the tragedy that UN says could be the deadliest year on record for the Mediterranean. And finally, some sports news now. A sharp spell of rain played spoilsport on day 2 in the Kanpur Test match between India and New Zealand. New Zealand ended the day at 152 for 166 runs short of India's total of 318, with Kane Williamson and Tom Latham at the crease. India started the day on 291 for 9, with Jadeja looking to boost the total, but the last batsman packed up at a total of 318. The pitch gave the Indian spinners much more turn than the New Zealanders, with Umesh Yadav trapping Martin Guptill in front to pick up the first wicket. But then the Indian bowlers ran into the formidable Kane Williamson, and Williamson, along with Tom Latham, played and ensured that the Indian bowlers were kept at bay. The duo added 117 runs. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.